right, another episode of the Elite Show. We have Michael Dowd as usual.
Standing.
And we have special guest Billy Flanagan, who has some real specialties. Intelligent, is that LED policing?
That's lead.
Okay, LED. So that one, okay.
Not the light, it's intelligent lead.
Yeah.
Cyber terrorism, ISIS, crisis negotiations, international contracts, critical infrastructure protection, hostage negotiation, gunshot location systems, and it goes on and on and on. So thank you very much for your time. And by the way, that's half of what your specialties are. Mike?
Yeah, wow.
It's incredible. Listen, the most unique individuals are usually guys like Billy, are very humble, really, to be honest with you. And those are the guys that usually people don't recognize of the intelligence, the toughness, mental fortitude. And this is one of the reasons why I thought you'd be a great guest today.
Thanks.
You will.
I want to ask him a question, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
What happened to you, Billy? Because, and first, so people that don't know, Mike Dowd from the 7-5, of course, the people that follow the show know my situation. But I ended up, Billy, you don't know this, but you walked in, well, you didn't know it then. Billy, who I don't know where he came from, right? This gentleman knocks on the door, wants to check out the house that I'm living in.
Some people think it's Mars, but
Well, you know what? Before you continue, for the people that don't know who you were the commissioner of Nassau County in New York.
Yeah,
For how many years was it?
Yeah, Billy, why don't you tell us your background a little bit, and then
All
Mike
right, so fuck me. Go ahead.
No.
No, go ahead. Go. No, really, go ahead, Billy.
I see the way this is going already.
Yeah, right.
Very,
Yes,
very professional.
So I spent almost 30 years in the Nassau County Police Department. I had a job before that, but I went there when I was about 25 years old. I wound up as the second deputy police commissioner, at the time the number 2 person in one of the largest police departments in the United States. Right now it's probably number 10 or 11 personnel-wise. You know, you go from NYPD with 35,000 people, and after that it starts to drop off really quick, you know? I mean, there are very few...
10, 12, 9.
Very few police departments with multi-thousands of people in the United States. It's an interesting place. It is Nassau County. It's on Long Island. We're right next to New York City. Share a lot of the same kind of issues, and then totally different. You know, policing, I always talk about policing as being really local. Tip O'Neill said all politics is local. Realistically, in my view, all policing is local. You can't police the same way in Nassau County as you would in Watts or someplace. And that's not and I'm not talking about racially or anything else. It's just about what people expect and the level of attention to certain things. So.
Yeah, very good.
And what happened at your house now?
So if people know a little bit about my story, but they really don't know all of my story, because everybody in the Naked City has a deep layers of stories. But I'm living with my current girlfriend at the time, and not currently, but back then. Now she's just a friend of mine, who I still live with, by the way. But anyway, I hope I don't get in trouble for that one. And that gentleman knocks on the door, you know, and I was jacked back then, by the way. I just have to tell myself.
Throw that in there,
I was
right?
jacked back then. I was still young. Don't forget. Now, that's 2006 or 7, Billy?
Probably.
Yeah. And he knocks on the, almost 8, because I know you stole the house down the block. Although they did, because they got, so anyway, he knocks on the door. And he asks to take a look around because he just purchased a house down the block, or was about to purchase the house.
I had owned that.
You had owned it, okay. And you got a good deal on the house, by the way. Although she was a good house dresser. She hit a lot of the floors in that house. I know that, Billy. Believe me. But the house was going into foreclosure, and Billy stepped in and took it. But anyway, so he knocks on the door, and here I am. I don't know Billy, and Billy don't know me. You know, just 2 guys in the neighborhood. So I could say that I was one of the first people in Islip to have the Nassau County Police Commissioner in my house, and he had no idea who I was at the time, and I had no idea who he was. Although we would cross paths slightly in the night. Let's say in the night, when he ran into his problem, and I ran into another minor hiccup in the road. So, Billy, tell us a little bit what happened to you. The whole situation. Just lay it out for us.
Sure. It's a pretty simple story. So after almost 30 years in policing, I ran into a district attorney who basically wanted to take over the police department. I was the person who said that's not going to happen. That led to a whole bunch.
You publicly said it, or right to her?
No, in the way things are done in politics and business.
Okay.
Right? long story short is there was a young man who committed a burglary of a school. I knew his father. I didn't know the kid. The father approached me at some point at a big event and said, "Hey, listen, my kid's got a problem. He stole some stuff from a school. I want to give it back. The police department has it. They won't give it back." I was in the middle of doing something else. I looked at the guy and I said, "Don't worry about it." And basically that's what it is. And I said, don't worry about it from the perspective of this is a 17 or 18-year-old kid at the time, right? The law in New York and a lot of other places allows for children that make mistakes.
Right.
And I literally know nothing about this kid's background. Nothing.
Well, now it's not even a mistake. I don't need to cut you off, but you can steal $950 and it's all good.
Yeah, today you would have got a medal for this.
New York, it's $250.
You could stick a gun in somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In New York, and you may get charged.
So this is incredible, honestly.
Yeah, it is, and it drops from there. So the father was a.
So what did he steal something? The kid? What happened?
He did. He took actually probably looks like what's in the studio here. He took some computers and things. He was into audio and visual.
Oh, he was. Oh, did he have a career?
He was 17 years old.
Oh,
Maybe we could hire him.
does he
here,
have
get
one
rid of
now?
Tom.
Does he have one now?
He does have one now.
Well, yeah, and they said in the thing that he was, like you said, he was 17, young kid, and he went in and stole computers.
Yeah.
Like $3,000 worth.
So
of computers.
so you step up to what?
I don't step up to do anything.
Oh.
Basically, I tell Dad, "Hey, don't worry about it." Knowing what I know. Look, this is inside baseball, right? We know that children don't go to jail
Right.
at 17 or 18 years old. We know that these things get mitigated in the judicial process. So, unbeknownst to me, I say, "Hey, don't worry about it. Things will work out." Right? Knowing what this is, and he hadn't been arrested. It was what he relays to me is that the police department has the stuff. Some of it's been given back, and the police department won't give the stuff back to the school. I find that a little, right off the top of my head.
Something's weird.
It's outside of my experience base, frankly, after 30 years.
You're a deputy commissioner of the police department.
Right, which plays into this later on. So a week later, I make an inquiry, literally make an inquiry. I make a phone call to the precinct where this happened, and I said, "Hey, what's the story there?" And I go, "Hey, yeah, well, no problem. It's getting resolved." End of story.
Oh.
I know the father. The father is really good guy. He and his wife lived in the same community since he grew up there. They're involved in the school. They have a daughter that's brilliant, frankly. Really involved in schoolwork.
Were they people of means? Were they of means?
They were.
Okay.
They were. In the grand scheme of things, yeah. They had some money. He's a successful business person. We've gone out to dinner together, and it's one of these things where later on, when everything starts to fall, there's some misrepresentation about different activities, right? If we went to dinner, there were times my credit card was on the table, and there were times his credit card was on the table.
Like all friends do. Whoever goes.
Exactly.
So you already had a relationship with the man?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he's pretty well known in law enforcement circles as a supporter of law enforcement.
Okay.
Very philanthropic, had donated time and money to not just police-related matters, but his daughter went to Africa with 1,000 or 2,000 books with her mother to distribute to some underprivileged kids over.
Wow.
So that's the kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's a good man. I mean,
he
the
steps
family
out.
is
Good guy.
Yeah.
Good guy. So he apparently had approached some other people, unbeknownst to me, in the police department about the case with this kid. Somebody in the police department is having some relationship with a reporter for a local Long Island paper, which is no longer in business, not Newsday,
Not the Long Island Press.
the Long Island Press.
Are you shitting me? I delivered the Long Island Press. It was good for us to beat the dogs. With
Now you want to know why it's out of business. Yeah.
They hired you.
I was the best Long Island Press. I did get attacked by a dog, though. But go ahead.
Yeah. The dangers of being a paper boy.
Yeah.
On Long Island in the 70s?
Yeah.
60s, 70s?
Yeah.
Right.
77. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
I'm a hardworking kid. But Billy, I had 7 kids in my family. We had to work.
I got it. I come from the same kind of background.
There you go.
So again, to make a long story short, there's some things that get put out in the press. There's an insider in the police department that was unhappy about his role in the police department, a guy that had been a smart guy. He's an attorney, but he had problems with the current management of the police department. He got moved from a position he was in to another one, a little jaundiced. So he starts feeding information to a reporter at this paper who had done numerous stories about the police department, basically a police groupie, frankly.
I love those police groupies, but not the reporters, though.
So what happens is the DA gets ticked anyway, and she goes after me and these other two people, a detective sergeant and a chief on a job, who I have no idea that are actually working to try to rectify getting the material back to the school. So ultimately, they arrest three of us. They arrest the detective sergeant, they arrest the chief, and they arrest me.
Oh, my God.
They charge me with a felony and 5 misdemeanors. Basically, I mean, it was a novel approach to law at that point for what I got charged with.
Oh, you.
Billy, who charged you? Who arrested you?
Nassau County District Attorney.
Okay.
So you're a test case.
Yeah.
For a way to. In other words, they used you as a.
Well, I mean, it was a novel application of certain laws to my situation. They said, as somebody at the top of this police department, I have a duty to do certain things, right? And then one of them would be if I was aware that a crime took place, that I had a
Report it.
a duty to prosecute it and everything else.
Right.
The fact of the matter is that I went to trial, actually. The fact of the matter is that after a 3-week trial with thousands of pages of testimony from people, about 10 minutes of that testimony was about me.
Right.
I didn't order anybody to do anything. I didn't tell anybody to do anything. I didn't expect anyone to do anything except what the police department would normally do under those circumstances.
What political party was the district attorney with?
She was a Democrat.
Okay.
And she's now a Democratic Congress person.
So it's obviously it's somewhat of a political move also. And
Is politics involved?
Yes.
I don't have to tell you guys.
Yes.
Is politics involved at most levels of the hierarchy of law enforcement agencies, prosecutorial agencies?
Yeah, all movement gets done in a political manner from the top.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
So I go to trial. It's a 3-week trial. Basically, do you know what an Allen charge is? An Allen charge is when a judge has to read a charge. You get basically a hung jury.
Right.
Okay.
3 times he had to read an Allen charge to the jurors.
Wow.
Right? It's a Friday before
Oh,
Thursday, and this is my recollection. of
Right,
this,
right.
So,
Okay.
so like in the fog of war,
Right.
when everybody
You don't
says
remember
it's
everything.
a little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I have a pretty clear recollection
Right.
sitting there at the defense
Yeah.
table, what was going on.
Oh, my God.
So they come back with a not guilty on the felony, right? And then a day later, after the judge sends them back before a holiday weekend, they come back and convict me of 3 misdemeanors. So that was in February of 2012.
Wow. It's going back.
July of 2012, I get sentenced, and I walk in there, and the guy basically sentences me to 6 months in jail, which can be mitigated with 500 hours of community service. So I wound up having to serve about 6 weeks in jail.
So you took the.
He wanted to remand me immediately. This is a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Right?
this is incredible.
Yeah.
How many people do so?
Yeah.
Just
Jail time, first off, is wrong.
just from a historical perspective, right? There was a Suffolk County sheriff, the elected sheriff of Suffolk County in the early 2000s, that got convicted of, I think it was in excess of 30 misdemeanors, all related to his job. No day in, no day.
Not a
in,
day.
And frankly, in New York State, with a misdemeanor, you can keep your job, right?
Yeah, sure.
So it really wasn't a problem. There.
Right.
I had retired. I have a pension. Didn't affect my pension. There's no issues
Right.
there. But it took. He wanted to remand me that July at that. Same,
Like you're a convicted killer.
right. Put me in handcuffs.
Danger to the community, Mr. Commissioner.
Ship me out.
Ran a police department, one of the largest in the world, and you're a fucking danger.
Right. So I had a really good defense team. Some people on that defense team may argue they weren't good enough because I got convicted of a misdemeanor, but I'm going to give them their due. They're great attorneys. They were phenomenal. And they had already figured out that, the fix was in here with going to jail. And we went to a...
Did you have your toothbrush with you?
They had already... No, I didn't. Because I knew I wasn't going to jail. They had already gone to a judge of a superior court.
Before your sentencing?
Absolutely.
Okay. Wow.
Who, as soon as the judge issued his order for me to be remanded, stayed the order pending my appeal.
These bastards.
So over the next 5 years, I went through the appeal process in the state of New York, the Court of Appeals, which is the highest court in New York State.
Yeah.
Took
All full by Democrats.
the case.
Full of Democrats.
Everyone appointed by Cuomo, which is another story.
Yeah, I just said it. Full of Democrats.
Bill Poppin Cuomo.
Right. 5 years. 5 years later, they upheld the
Bra measuring Cuomo.
He's coming back, by the way.
Coming back after all the people he killed in nursing homes, and he's not held accountable for.
No,
So 5 years later, in 2017, they uphold the conviction. I wind up spending about 6 weeks in jail.
So now, Billy, in a normal situation, how would they have dealt with this situation? Because from what you're saying and I read, it sounds like they were trying to make an example of Billy or put a message out, kind of like you were saying, Mike. But let's just say 5 years ago, prior to this, so in 2007, and it's the other, John Doe policeman. How would they have went about this case?
To my knowledge, listen, I'm gonna sit here and tell you flat out. The reason I went to trial is because
Billy, move in a little bit, please. Yeah.
Because I was innocent.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
Because I was innocent. I did not do what they said. Had I done any of what they claimed I did, I would have allocated to that immediately. I would have said, hey, listen, guys, I did this. Make an example. I am an example. Don't do what I did, right? That's not the case. What I did was well within the law, well within. It wasn't to take care of anybody. It was, frankly, to do the right thing by the school, right? And all I did was make inquiries about where's the stuff? Why don't we give it back to the school? Never ordered anybody to give it back to the school. Never said don't arrest the kid. You could have arrested, when he came to me, when the father came to me, you could have arrested that kid the next day. And probably he should have been arrested. He would have gone through the system. He would have been done.
Right.
Instead, they made this literally a show trial.
He would have got a desk appearance ticket, pretty much, the kid, right?
Well, he wouldn't have been. He wouldn't have spent. He wouldn't have spent any time in jail. He wound up going to jail for a year.
Yeah, because of the profile.
Well, let me just put this in perspective for people. When I was running around the street, right? I'm all over the street. I'm committing crime. I'm doing the wrong thing. I got caught with a gun in Nassau County. I went to and I made a deal through my attorneys. It was Marshall Traeger back then.
Sure.
And he made a deal for me, and I got probation for an illegal handgun. It's a weapon. You can possibly hurt somebody, kill somebody, shoot somebody, whatever. And I didn't go to jail. He's
wait.
commissioner.
You didn't go to jail. And what was your record like walking into that probation?
And I already had a record.
Did you have a felony?
No felony.
No felony, but still.
But I had a record
for you
for
to get
assaults
probation.
and,
His PSI would have looked ugly. Let's just put it that way.
you have and you read part of his resume.
Yeah. No, but I read his case. And
A community leader, in a great life. Some a life that we talk about kids should be proud of.
That I wish I could have had.
And I got to tell you, well, he had some bad luck. First, this case in a district attorney, and then he ends up on the same block as you. That's where his trouble really
listen, I'm done here. I'm out.
Wait, a month later, he ran into my cousin. He was a realtor. He says, put my house up for sale. No, I'm kidding.
Billy, what did you do? What did you do that we don't know?
Wait,
he started going to the church twice a week after that.
so I end up in a little mix. All right.
Yeah.
I end up, Billy. By the way, I want to cry when I hear this because it fucking pisses me off that they can do this to people because I deserved every bit of what I got but I accept it, Billy. A lot of people run from it. I accept it. I don't wear it proudly. I wear me proudly. I bring out who I can be to everybody. And if you don't like me, go fuck yourself. But that's the point. Is I get so pissed off when I see this because if you didn't have the character, and I'm not sucking your schwanz here, if you didn't have the character that you have, people would put the fucking gun to their head or melt, and you know that.
So that's part of where I come from and what I believe I am, Mike. I mean, one, I didn't lose a friend over this. Not one.
That's incredible.
That is incredible.
There were hundreds of people that showed up over the course of my trial and at my sentencing, I mean, so many people showed up at sentencing.
Good for you,
from all walks of life, that the judge in the chamber next door got a little tweaked and said, "What's going on?"
Yeah. Right. He's jealous. He's jealous.
But here's the deal. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, again, had I done something, I would have been same. Listen, I wouldn't have gone to trial. I would have said, "Hey, give me a plea." One, I was never.
Well, you
one,
could've-
I was never offered a plea bargain. Never.
Oh no,
No?
I'm
No,
shocked.
Never. Two,
I've never even heard of that, Bill.
Two, it served a purpose going to trial, right? I mean, I didn't testify because what they did in the process of this investigation they allegedly did was threaten people. They threatened people's jobs.
Here we go again.
They tried to ruin people's careers, and frankly, I was having none of that. There were people that came to me inside the police department and said, "Hey, let me testify. We'll testify." Well, it's not happening, bro. It's not happening because they would have screwed you. That's why. So, I mean, I'm a big boy, you know. I played in this arena. I've had fastballs thrown at my head. It is what it is, you know. It's.
But Billy, it's not fair.
It may not be fair, Mike, but the bottom line is there's a lot of things that aren't fair. What should be a lesson for people coming here, and I had literally the best defense you could get. My attorneys are cutting edge, top notch. Subsequent to this, we've gotten people out of prison that have been there for
This is the story. This
years.
is the story.
But
Besides Billy's fall, which was fucking ridiculous.
But if you can do this to me, I mean, an unblemished 30-year record. I mean that literally, unblemished. I don't have internal affairs complaints. I never flaked anybody. I was a working street cop who understood how to do policing, right? But if you
Did you like being a patrolman?
You know what? I came to this when I was 25 years old, Mike.
So you already had a little bit of street
but-
life. You had a little experience.
But Mike, let him get
Okay.
back to his point where
Yeah.
Billy, you were saying that
You know,
if they could do it to you,
Yeah, if you could do it to me, somebody who is literally the consummate insider, you know, you got to realize something. There was a judge, the first judge that our case was before, they attacked him. The DA's office attacked him and essentially made him recuse himself and continued to attack him. Every judge in Nassau County, and Nassau's a big county, there's almost 1.5 million people there, so there's a lot of judges there. Every one of them recused themselves from the case. They went to Suffolk County and handpicked a judge that has a relationship with the district attorney through an outside entity they're involved in, a law school, and he presided over the case. So you know, you look at that, and it's what I tell people all the time. I had the ability. Financially, my insider status, knowing who the people were that would represent me the best, what chance does some schmuck have walking in off the street with his real estate attorney, because he's never had any dealings with the criminal justice system before? There's room in this system. This may be the best system in the world. We're not taking people out, putting them against the wall, and executing them here, but frankly, daily there are problems in the entire justice system.
But Billy, and you're not a naive guy by far, but if it can happen to our President Trump, you know it can happen to you, and it can happen to individuals. And I'm not saying it doesn't matter, because it becomes politics instead of the subject and the topic of right or wrong. And it's what's going on right now with our president. They're all over the media with insurrection. But this isn't about insurrection for anybody that understands politics. This is about the fear that President Trump might run again.
Words matter.
Yeah.
Words matter, and defining those terms matter, right? I mean, when you control the language, you control the narrative, especially when you have the ability, a technological advantage, a media advantage. It makes a difference. It really does.
Yeah.
Billy, I had asked Mike this before, but I'd like to ask you, and this pertains to the case. Back in the day, if if I got a DUI and I wasn't that bad, you would take me home to my dad because my dad would beat my ass. And you would tell my dad, hey, Tommy was drinking, whoop his ass, because I'm not hurting nobody. I'm not, completely slobbered, didn't crash. When did you see that start to change where, if you did a little crime or a little thing, you take the kid home, the kid's 17, 15, whatever, he's drinking under 21, you take him home, dad handles him, whatever, and you let it go. You don't ruin a kid's life over one mistake. You know what I mean, Billy? Because nowadays you get a felony, forget it. You're not getting an apartment. You're not getting a job. You can't vote.
Yeah, but
anymore.
Tommy, the problem is you're going into politics here. The Democratic Party does not believe on tough on crime. Their stance right now is to release cash bails. Don't imprison people. What Briggs just said, the new district attorney in New York. You could steal up to $250. We made a joke of it. It's insane. I'm not going to prosecute gun charges. I'm not going to prosecute robberies if no one's hurt. There'll be misdemeanors. Yet you're going to go after a highly decorated,
with an impeccable record. But I mean, when did that start?
30-year police enforcement record that's incredible. The problem is when it becomes power and politics over subject and substance of, the good he's doing for a community, not because you're sitting here. But I was a gangster. I say it all the time. I had a fucked up life. He had, as an officer, a fucked up life. But
What
when
choice
you have
making?
a good man,
I made poor
a good
choice.
man making
I made the right choice.
Well, here's the problem. You're taking a good man that it's got an influence on so many young kids to do the right thing, instead of putting guys like us in front or doing the wrong thing in the past. And that's where it gets, to me, where it hurts the system, because you had a lot of influence to help a lot of kids, and they're taking that away by putting somebody in a position he doesn't belong to be in.
When did that start to happen?
Yeah, but what? Yeah, when?
I think it happens also because
Billy, on Billy's point, when I was a cop, I used to take the keys or drive a guy home or take his money. One of the three.
Sure. So there's a couple of things involved here, right?
That was a laugh.
Yeah. There's a couple of things involved. I'm going to tell you that I think it still happens today to a certain extent. But the drive for what people claim to be accountability of the police has changed drastically over the last 20 years, right? Today, a police officer who may stop some kid for weaving on the road and would take his car keys or drive him home stands a pretty good chance of being disciplined internally or arrested for something.
Yeah.
If you think about it, some of the things that have gone to trial in the last few months, you see things where heretofore the law in every state has allowed the police to make mistakes, right? Honest mistakes.
Uh-oh, here we go. I know where you're going.
Mistakes of mistakes.
Real mistakes.
Real mistakes, right? You've criminalized those things today. If every interaction between the police and a civilian today, that cop is in jeopardy
Of jail,
going to
or
prison,
losing their job. One of the two.
right? And that was not always the case, because the law, and if you look at the law,
It's written for that to not be the case.
exactly. In New York State, the police are allowed. I'll give you a prime example, right? So you witness what I'll call a robbery. A guy points a gun in somebody's face, takes their property, and runs away. And you happen to be somebody that, whatever, in New York State, that's licensed to have a pistol, right? And that guy runs, and you shoot that guy. Well, you as a civilian have to know that he, in fact, did just stuck that guy up. He stuck the gun in his face. There can't be any doubt about it. As a police officer, all you have to have is a reasonable belief that that's what happened. And if I shoot him by mistake, if it turns out to be that's not what the case is, that's a tort. That's a civil action. There's a remedy for that. And the remedy is what we've done in Afghanistan and Iraq and every place else when we bomb the wrong people.
Send money.
We send money, right? There's a drive by people, especially on the left, some conservatives too, though, if you think about it, to criminalize conduct that heretofore is not criminal and it actually falls under the law.
Yeah.
Right? So you're at jeopardy today. I have friends of mine whose kids become cops. They were cops. They were really aggressive cops. And all I say is, geez, I hope your kids didn't watch what you did while you were working legally, right? Because you can't do that today, right? It's an untenable position. It's at some point you're going to get to the point, and you're seeing it in police departments across the country today, where you can't get people to do the job because of that. The risk is inherent in this, and it's like everything else. It's like, you're getting in your car, and you think about the risk, right? The risk of dying or getting seriously hurt in a car accident is infinitesimally greater than dying of COVID or even getting COVID, right? But people jump in their car with no thought about it and go drive. But yet we're freaking out about other things here, and that's
Great
part
point.
of it. I mean,
Great
if you
point.
think about it,
Good point.
that's
But again, it's a political push because you could take Texas, and you could take Florida. It's 50, 60 million people. You could take California, and you could take New York City. And it's about the same, 50, 60 million people. And there's all kinds of lockdowns and masks and school closures in California and New York City. Yet Florida isn't that, and neither is Texas. Yet you have less deaths and hospitalizations in those states, I believe, or they're about the same. So how do they explain the craziness of the way New York and these passports that I keep saying are pulled towards slavery? Because you have all the young kids from my neighborhood, black and Spanish mostly, who are not vaccinated. But then you have the same kids that had COVID, had no effect on them, and now you're going to tell them that they're forced to take that vaccine. It doesn't make any sense.
Political, and you watch Dr. Malone, and he'll tell you everything you need to know.
Well, why would you take a vaccine if you didn't need it, if you had COVID and didn't do anything?
Well, because they're mandating it.
Why are they mandating it? It's a
Politically.
political push.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And it's
I
a
agree.
control thing.
Yeah.
So Billy, you saw the scene, I'm certain, where the McDonald's was a Burger King in Manhattan. Now, okay, so the scene was there was a mother with a few children or just one? I wasn't sure. I couldn't see the whole thing because there was a couple people behind her and about 6 cops.
I don't know if
And they locked up
I think it was one child, 5-year-old.
one child. Oh, was it?
yeah, I didn't see it.
You didn't see it?
I didn't see it. I've heard about it.
Yeah.
It's listen. I have a real issue. I'm all about depoliticizing the police, right? So to have the police enforce things related to health, right? I mean, short of some exigent, really bad kind of thing going on relative to an immediacy that a non-doctor can figure out, right? In my view, it's wrong to have the police. It's wrong to have the police if you're the county executive and you're standing there and you're talking about masks, mandates, not having them, having them. But you don't need the police commissioner standing behind you. It's not a police matter. You have other avenues. You want to go impact something, you want to go affect it, you got health inspectors. You have, other people. The police in society, their role should not be as an oppressor or something that's not equal across the board, right? That's important. And I see this when and I've railed against it. I mean, you've probably seen some of my social media about.
Yeah.
It's not so much about get a shot, not get a shot. But when in the height of the pandemic, that in some places, including southern states, the sheriff was going to churches and stuff like that,
yeah.
and telling people to leave. That's not right? It really isn't. That really blurs the line. It's more than blurs the line to me over the power of the police and the role of the police in society today. It's not good.
One of the reasons I brought this up, and I don't, you may have seen it with me, John, the image of. They were all minority police officers.
Do you remember yesterday
They
where
were
we
all
were?
minority police officers. Now you have a minority child, and we're trying to create, especially in urban settings, where the police department reflects the vision of the community or the people in the community. Sure. And here you have, I think there was 5, maybe 6. Let's call them brown, black, Spanish. I don't know what they were, but they were brownish in skin tone, and the child. Was a brown skin tone child? I don't know if the kid was the black or Hispanic, but they were dark skin, and the image that this child's getting at a Burger King or McDonald's. I think it was McDonald's, but I don't want to be in case they want to sponsor us. I don't want to fuck that up. but the point is, you got this child being scared to death that mommy's in trouble now for going to McDonald's.
Well, he's going to dislike a police officer.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
That falls under the same kind of thing as when can you do me a favor and tell my kid not to do that, or you're going to lock him up? Right? I mean, that's great, right?
Yeah, it's just
Yesterday we were in downtown Tampa, and I spoke to 5 black police officers and 1 Spanish, and I think it was 1 white guy there. Anyway, young kids, nice kids, really respectful. But you got a different thing here because you got DeSantis here and he has a different respect for his police officers. You go to New York and de Blasio talks against his police officers. And then you have those same police officers that you're trying to build their reputation up within the community so it's more of a hello, goodbye, the old style walking. Everybody knows the cop on the beat. But then you have de Blasio going to get them to harass a 5-year-old in a pizzeria or a burger, it doesn't matter
It's
where.
disgusting.
How are you going to make that community like police officers instead of dislike them and detest them?
You know, you're right, John. But it also comes down to the individual police officer too, right?
Oh, 100%.
You have to, and I tell people this all the time. If you